two sexy girl characters riding around on the Wump truck.
One panel, yeah.
Hello and welcome to the QUACKCAST. This is QUACKCAST number 492. I'm Ozone Ocean. With me is Tance, Baines, and Pitt. And hello. Today we're going to chat about the impermanence of the new digital age. We've been sold this utopia where everything's online and we can access stuff off the internet instead of having to have physical media for everything. But there's a huge downside to that in that all the stuff we use is controlled by someone else and they can just cut off our access to it whenever they feel like in so many different ways. But before we chat about that, I have to get straight into the featured comic. And Quai featured a comic this week. It's called Filaments, a Kerbop Story. So tell us about that, Quai.
Hello, this is QUACKCAST, and the feature I've selected for this week is Filaments, a Kerbop Story by Callaway, and it is rated E for everyone. Filaments, a Kerbop Story is a beautiful Technicolor landscape awash with painted imagery that depicts the universe. Kerbop is a student currently enrolled in a school for angels, but on this particular day of sitting in class lectures, Kerbop warps into a cosmic portal to study galaxy filaments up close and firsthand. This is a magical and mystical comic for anyone who has ever dared to dream outside our solar system. One of the best details in this comic are the hand-letter typed fonts, which are all original and unique to each character speaking. The colors are vivid and vibrant with the ability to dazzle the cone-shaped color receptors in the cornea of the human eye. Take a cosmic journey to the filaments and read Filaments, a Kerbop Story by Callaway, rated E.
And that was our feature. QUACKCAST gave us Filaments, a Kerbop Story. Okay, so after that we have the featured music. Gummalus has given us a theme to Ingenieur Aus. The start reminds me a bit of Cowboy by Bon Jovi, or Dead or Alive, can never remember what that song's called. Has that kind of sound. It's a very mystical, exotic, medieval guitar sound. This one really takes you away to another place and time with its atmospheric synths, hand-drumming percussion, and delicate guitar sounds. I love it. When the rhythm is taken over by the tapping on guitar strings, it's a very pretty sound. So take it away, Gummalus, with Ingenieur Aus. And that was the theme music that Gummalus gave us. A lovely little tune. Thank you very much for that, Gummalus. It was the music to Ingenieur Aus, which is a comic by D. Flimbingo, and it's rated T. Flimbingo, that's a cool name. Okay, so on this QUACKCAST, we're talking about the impermanence of the digital age, how we've been promised a utopia where we have, free or at least universal access almost to all these TV programs and movies and comics and music and all sorts of stuff with digital media that we can stream and download, but mainly stream and have subscription access to or free access to. But actually that comes with a lot of restrictions and a huge downside. The massive downside to that is it's impermanent, and whatever the company that owns that hosting site thinks, however they go with the that hosting site, you just have to lump it. So like Google Music is something I've been using for a long time, this excellent Google Play Music. You buy your songs through there and you play them, and it was a really good kind of streaming system, and quite a lot better than iTunes, which has always been pretty crappy. Now, Google has decided that they're going to switch over to using YouTube Music instead, and so you've got a month to switch over, and they're going to delete everything on the Google Play Music, and of course the new service isn't as good, and there's a lot of doubt, but you've got no choice as a user. You've absolutely got no choice. And the worlds of comics is the same. A lovely user, Hashiko, has told us about how Hashiko has been hosting their comic on Tapas, and initially it was fine with nudity and all this kind of stuff, and now they've said no, and there's nothing you could do. So your work is out. Either you conform to what they say or you go. And we might say, well, they are the company that does it. They pay for the hosting, so they should be able to say what they say. But it's not a one-way street. We've been sold this idea that these benevolent companies are offering us this service and we're just taking advantage of it. But it's not a one-way street. That's an absolute myth. It's us who give them the power. In the terms of comic artists, these comic artists give them the work that makes people come and use the site. No one would bother using the site if it wasn't for the work that draws the users in. And this goes all the way down the line. Even the people coming in to look at the work, they're only looking at the work because, those comic artists are there. But you as an audience are actually giving that site your eyes and your time. You can go to any site to look at comic art. You've decided to go to that one. So you as well aren't just passively viewing the thing. You are actively choosing to go there and looking at that work. So you again are giving them something of your own, your eyes, which gives that comic site ad revenue, because that's eyes on the site, that's hits, that's uniques. So that is of something of value to them. And it's, if they're like recording your user data, what kind of comics you're looking at and how long you're looking at them for, they can on-sell that to advertisers and make more money from you and use you again in different ways. Or if they've tied in with Facebook and Google and all these other sites, again, they're using you in different ways. On Drunkduck, we are, quite a good contrast to that, because we've been around like almost 20 years now. We've allowed adult work for all that time, and we don't use any part of your views or your presence. We don't record anything at all, and we don't save cookies about your viewing habits and on-sell that to Facebook and Google. Nothing. So yeah. Anyway, it's not a one-sided thing, and when you're sold that idea, it is wrong. So it's not right for sites to use up viewers in that way and to treat them in this way. But in this world, that's what happens. All sites are vulnerable, all services, all these online kind of streaming things, subscription music, subscription movies, any of that can be taken away at a moment's notice. Like I sign up for like Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. Those are great sites I can view and look at a whole bunch of things. So I, stick a whole bunch of stuff on my watch list. I was watching for a long time Andromeda, which I was catching up to. The great Kevin Sorbo 90s sci-fi thing. It's a bit silly, but, I wanted to watch it again. And halfway through the second season, they removed access to the whole thing. And there's nothing I could do about it. I can't complain to anyone. They just decided to remove it from their system. And even though it's all on my watch list, I can't watch it anymore. So, yeah, that was quite shitty. They've returned access to it again now, which I discovered quite fortuitously tonight, which was good. So I was able to get back into it. But, that was like a year later. So just another example of, the impermanence and being beholden to the capriciousness of an online entity, which is quite annoying. Anyway, so I've ranted long enough. What are your guys' experiences with vicissitudes of the modern digital age?
Well, I haven't run into I haven't run into problems personally with stuff being taken away, but the stuff I've read about Kindle, for example, books that you buy can be taken away. They're not technically being bought; they're just being borrowed. No matter what price you paid for them. This is what I've read, but I mean, nothing in my Kindle has been taken away so far. I've read about movies being edited for digital release, like whether warnings added to the beginning, which is eye-rolling in itself, then actually editing material. Probably, I mean, mostly from what I've read, it's little things that I wouldn't have noticed, like a shot of Daryl Hannah's butt in Splash or something like that.
Really?
And stuff in The Simpsons, I think, on an early streaming, or was it on cable? I don't know. There was something with The Simpsons years ago where like great scenes were taken out, but that was more, I think, for time. Still, annoying to me.
Yeah.
Guns airbrushed out of E.T., apparently.
Yes.
Even that, I don't know if I would have noticed. But that's like crazy.
That.
And they took the shark out of Jaws. It's considered too scary. No, that one's not true, but I mean, stuff like that is troublesome to me. That is why I'm a fan of physical media.
Yes, well, there's the Star Wars as well.
Money wise, it's tough. I mean, well, yeah, Star Wars, that original version is hard to get. Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, luckily, like, Star Wars is so bad now, it's made me hate the whole series. So to me personally, but like stuff that exists being taken away, stuff that are, I mean, things that are cultural touchstones like E.T. or especially Star Wars. That is, very much not a fan of that in principle. Like, I don't know if it can be stopped.
Well, this is why one of the reasons I, as we all know, like comic artists, a lot of us know about the situation with Photoshop now. It's a subscription-only system, and that means you have to pay monthly for that. And your access can be terminated. Your account can be gotten rid of. That can happen. But it means basically that if you want ongoing access to this program, your subscription fees are going to add up because you have to keep on paying and paying and paying.
Oh man, that subscription model thing is, that's awful.
Yeah. A lot of people would consider that, a good kind of compromise because it's cheaper than it used to be to buy the thing outright. I mean, when I bought Photoshop 4 years ago, it cost me almost $1,000 in Australia. So it's a lot cheaper now just to have that kind of subscription access. But there are downsides to it. And yeah, it does add up.
Maybe we brought it on ourselves when we destroyed the music industry in the 90s.
Yes. Although there are...
We had it coming.
Actually, that subscription thing for Photoshop is why I now use GIMP.
Yes.
Because there was a time where I couldn't afford even the subscription. I had purchased the older version of Photoshop. I think it was the one with the feather. I don't remember which one that was.
CS1 or CS2.
Yeah, but it wouldn't run on Windows newer, whatever Windows that was. I think it was Windows 7 or I don't know.
Yeah.
Some kind of Windows, and there was really no way for me to upgrade the program that I had bought, and it was very expensive when I bought it. It cost almost as much as you paid for us. So I just said to myself, like, I am not going to pay annually almost the amount that I would pay to own the damn thing, and then be held hostage to whatever whim they have and whatever upgrades Microsoft does, and what have you. I'm going to just go for freeware and learn to deal with that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, I mean, thankfully, GIMP exists, and if you invest, the time to learn it, it is just as good. In some areas, better than Photoshop. Not all areas, but some. And sometimes you have to just live without, I guess, or buy something that you own, not rent.
Yes, that's
because we are all renting things basically. We don't own things anymore.
Yes,
true. Even your operating systems, which are at the whims of the companies that provide you, with the security updates and stuff like that. For me, I sort of did the same thing as you, but I bought another version of Photoshop 4, incidentally, CS4, because I needed Illustrator as well, in my graphic design work. So what I did was I knew that CS4 runs on Windows 10 and everything because it's a 64-bit. So it was pretty much, I don't know about CS5, but I know CS4 was one of the last versions that you could buy without a subscription. You buy the whole thing and it will run because it's 64-bit. So I bought it through eBay, and I bought the whole Premiere Suite or whatever it is. So I get, Premiere video editing and InDesign and all these really good programs for cheap because it's an older program. So that was a really, really good to do. Like, it only cost me $100 Australian for all these top level programs, and that would have cost, maybe $3,000-$4,000 back when that was new. So, and they all run on Windows 10. So thank God for that.
Nice. Yeah. I did the same. I draw in Manga Studio, and I bought. I think they're on a subscription model too, and there's certain things like saving an image as a transparent ping that you can't do unless you buy the highest end program.
Oh wow!
Subscription program. I just bought an older version for like $50 and serves me very well. Do my editing in a free program, and
well, there you go.
That's great. It works out. And to get transparent things so that it's more editable, I can draw in my animation program too, which was expensive, but I own it.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Get the use out of the damn thing.
For sure. And I'm about to upgrade my computer too, and the animation thing is on my very ancient Windows XP computer.
Oh, sugar.
So I have to work on there and then transfer stuff to my other computer to upload anything.
Oh, no.
Yeah, about to upgrade. And I think I should be able to transfer my programs to the new computer. So
I hope so. I hope they
10-year-old animation thing.
I hope they work on the new machine.
Yeah, it's just going back. I mean, in computer technology years, it's been a century. It's been about like 10 years or something like that. So, or more even.
It is. It's tricky with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But thankfully, there are now a lot of free options like GIMP and other things that do the job pretty damn well. GIMP's been going along for a long time. But the other side of it, of course, is that we were talking about the comic sites, so Hashiko talking about Tapas, but the same thing happened with Tumblr not long ago. That was a huge thing. So many really good, top quality adult comicers just kicked off that their livelihood just kicked off from their main website.
Patreon as well kicks you out of their platform if you are too adult or something like that. I remember I received one of those informative emails that they sent at times when they changed their terms of service, and they said that if you were like, they do allow up to a point adult stuff, but after a point they do not allow certain stuff, and they will shut down your account. So there's also that.
Wow.
And this is aside from the subscription thing, and I'm very curious what Tense and Oz and Pitt, what you guys would say about this. When corporations and companies are starting to dictate, I mean, I sort of agree with the idea that there should be lines, probably very solid lines at a certain point, and options to opt in or opt out of adult material, non-adult material, and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
When companies are imposing, and they're empowered to impose, to draw those lines, they're deciding, you're capable of seeing this, and this is unacceptable. You're not allowed to see this. You can't handle this. Saying that to us, the people, that's incredibly. I mean, that's enraging to me.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. They treat us like children, all society like children, whereas children only make up a very tiny minority of society, and they're not meant to be looking at these websites anyway. I mean, it's like Facebook. They are any nudity or adult content on Facebook is very, very heavily policed, but you're not even meant to have an account on Facebook if you're below a certain age. So that's a huge contradiction. Doesn't make any sense.
I think that the biggest problem is a lack of choice, as you said. I do think that things have to be properly labeled so that you know what you're getting into, and there should be no surprises that you are not, going for. But apart from that, and it's a comment that I made on Hashiko's, I think. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. On Hashiko's YouTube show, that they have a lot of relativistic statements in these terms of service about what is and is not allowed. Because if you are not very concrete in your definitions of the things that you should and you shouldn't do on a platform, then anything goes. It remains on the judgment of the person with power to click a button to tell you whether you are being okay or not okay on the platform. Sorry, one moment, guys. I'm going to mute myself for a while and then I'll continue.
It's good point though.
Yes, if rules and things aren't somewhat well defined, then they can be defined by anybody, which means the person enforcing them can enforce what they choose, which can be dangerous.
I mean, that language, as I understand, it's being put into new rules and regulations, where like any content we deem inappropriate,
yes,
is inappropriate. You know, like that vagueness is built right in purposely, obviously.
exactly.
To,
That is really in order to be able to quickly amend things when it hurts their brand or they perceive it hurts their brand when it comes to advertising.
Well,
which is okay.
This has been a big issue with YouTube as well. So they had the for a little while, a new job was created, a YouTuber, in that we had content producers there producing all sorts of content and making the platform wildly popular, drawing in advertisers because there's all these people using YouTube as like almost a TV kind of station. You know, you can tune into there and watch your favorite content producers. And so there was like a huge bonanza. Advertisers were paying for ads, and all this money was going straight to these creators, and it made these creators very wealthy, and it created a livelihood. You know, people could actually have that as a job. But then a certain thing happened where you had certain activist people sort of saying, okay, look, like I saw like some Nazi stuff in that video or whatever, that's not appropriate anymore. And any like company that advertises with this, you know, people who produce this content, we're going to boycott you, and you know, this is going to come back on Google. So it was like an invented kind of issue by these people who are like inappropriately putting pressure on YouTube and advertisers for what certain creators did. So that meant that Google created a whole, you know, went full on draconian, created a whole raft of rules and said, okay, so now creators are hardly getting any money whatsoever. And it destroyed the livelihood of a lot of people that, you know, had invested quite heavily in producing and in, you know, producing content, because so they bought, you know, faster internet and better computers and editing programs and really good cameras and microphones and lighting systems and everything. You know, they had, it wasn't just people sitting in their bedrooms and recording themselves on webcam. This was serious work to produce work of, you know, sufficient quality in order to fit for people to come along. So, you know, they were putting all the work in. Google ripped that away from them with this childish kind of approach to, you know, childishly mercenary approach to how they were handling it without any proper thought. Absolutely destroyed a whole lot of people and reduced the quality of the content that was being produced because of that. And now they have all sorts of silly kind of rules about the kind of things that people have on there. And firearms channels and things like that, that was particularly harmed. For some reason, like there's this idea that they don't like to show people having guns, you know, and fair enough, in America, there's been a lot of issues with the glorification of firearms, and of course they have horrible things like school shooting and stuff like that. But on the other hand, these people are, you know, genuine content producers, and they're not school shooters. They're not selling guns. They're, you know, they have guns in their video because that's what the audience wants to see. People are interested in, you know, weapons technology. They're interested in seeing these things. So looking at someone telling you the history of a firearm or a sword or something like that doesn't really have that much to do with school shooters in America and all that kind of, you know, that culture. So these people were hit quite hard and often find themselves demonetized. And yeah, it's about research and just, you know, human knowledge. But it's also not just the gun people, it's people using like doing criticism of movies or music. So anything that has copyrighted material as part of it, these people often find themselves demonetized, defunded, even though the work should be protected under fair use. Google makes no no allowance for that whatsoever. They just it's guilty until proven innocent. Oh, sorry, Tance, go.
It depends really on cloud, though, up to a point, because, of course, I'm not. I'll take this with a grain of salt, in the sense that I have not experienced that, because I don't have a super channel on YouTube. But what is being consistently reported by a lot of people on YouTube is that if you have like a cutoff point and up in subscribers and views, you get a lot more leeway than other channels that are a lot smaller. So there is also that. So there is a bit of a double standard atmosphere that is going on a lot of platforms, including YouTube, including Facebook and Twitter and stuff. Like, for example, I'm currently banned from Twitter for a sarcastic and which is pretty mild considering other things that exist on Twitter without problem. But it is the way it is. If I were popular enough, people would spam Twitter and I would be unlocked. Now I have to wait for the appeal.
Yeah, it's not a justice system. It's not based on fairness. It's based on popularity, which is how the internet tends to go with a lot of things. It's all just based on popularity. So if you had a blue tick or something like that, you're a verified celebrity. You'd obviously find it a lot easier, or just a super popular person with a lot of different fans. They can spam enough in order to have yourself reconsidered. And this is the same with YouTube videos as well. You can find yourself with all your copyright strikes against you removed, as long as you're popular enough to have those people batting for you. But the system itself isn't fair. They rely on these very badly made algorithms that trundle along and police things in a very harsh way.
And now that you mentioned it, and Bigface made a very nice comment in writing. I want to read it. She says the problem with YouTube is that it's trying to be advertiser friendly, but it's also too massive to police. So the algorithm is a bit too heavy-handed. Yes, but also I think that now that I'm thinking about it, the big channels that get the big leeway are also the channels that get the biggest exposure in terms of advertising. Like if you get advertised in these channels, whether their content is obnoxious or not, you do get a lot of exposure, a lot of eyes on your brand. So maybe that is what gets them more leeway than other ones where the content is more important in order to get the advertisers there to advertise. So this is a hypothesis, but because of course correlation is not causation, but it is something to consider.
Yes, but the whole point of it is that we are at the mercy of the corporations whose services we use, even though we are providing them the valuable content. I mean, even Drunkduck, which is a damn good system in a lot of ways because we have so much freedom on our website. I forgot what the point I was going to make. It's something about oh geez, what was I talking about? Something about the
But we are using the platforms that are using us.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, even Drunkduck, which is a damn good system. We need the people to come and put their comics on us to actually give us something for people to come and see, and we need that to keep on happening, because, like, if people, we can't survive on just a few people putting comics on, because what happens is there's attrition, people get tired of it, people stop producing it. So we need people to keep on coming and putting their comic on, and people to keep on coming and, be new viewers. So even though we don't get like any money out of that, the site is only paid for by people who choose to advertise on us, who are, usually comic artists on the site or elsewhere, or also our fantastic Patreon people who support us. It's the only things we get money on, and that doesn't matter how many people view us. So, that's not a concern for us, like the amount of like drawing in viewers all the time to increase revenue. But we do still need that constant flow of new people coming and putting work on the site in order to actually survive and be a site that people come to, because it would just dry up and die if new people weren't putting new work on. Because even though there's people like, us all here who keep on producing comics and have been for over a decade now, like, that's not how everyone does it. Most people sort of stop producing. So yeah, we need more and more people to keep it coming. And I'll go on.
Oh no, you go on, and then
I was going to say that it's the content producers, it's those people who bring the value. It's not just us providing the website that do all the work. It's a two-way street, it's a symbiotic relationship.
We need the leads. Gary leads.
Gary, that's it.
I was going to say though that the Drunkduck model, because we are, in essence, we are applying a very specific model in the way that the whole site is being run, compared to the models that are applied to other sites that are more commercial and more corporate run. And I think that we should focus on how well it is actually working, because in the end, the bottom line is what is efficient and what isn't, and what is it efficient for, which is also another thing. And I think, like in Drunkduck, we have a mutual respect going on. We respect you as a creator, that you know what you want to know, what you want to upload, and you also are intelligent enough to properly tag it as what it is, because you are clearly looking for an audience that will like what you put out for people to see. So it's not like you are. Virtue is not something that you need in order to properly tag your comic. It's just how much and how quickly do you want to be found. So we respect you to know what you want and know what you do not want. And everything is clearly marked so that you can navigate and work. There is no problem. People that don't want to see adult comics don't see adult comics. People that don't like mature comics don't see mature comics and stay, on the thin range or the everyone range. If they absolutely do not want, they want something that is super, super clean.
Yes.
And everyone is welcome, and everyone has their style and their approach to things, and there has been no issue, no clash, no protest. Oh my God, what are you doing? You are being unfair, and blah 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 blah. Whereas if you go to these other sites, there are complaints. I have seen complaints on you haven't been fair to my title, whereas you have been very indulgent to that title, and why is my title not being promoted as much as this other title is being promoted, and so on and so forth. So what that means is that they are going for something completely different to what we are going for. We are going for inclusivity and creativity and getting as much talent as possible to produce and keep producing, to produce that flow that you mentioned. Because that is what keeps us alive and that is what keeps people coming. Whereas the other sides that are more corporate are looking for a clientele. They're looking for people that are going to consume the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So basically they're looking for a specific pool of people, a target audience, if you like. Single, but a very specific.
It's sort of like the widest base kind of thing, probably, right? Like sort of the most as common of a denominator as it can get. Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
And that's often why they produce very samey kind of work, or at least they encourage a very samey sort of image to their work.
And there's another thing I haven't seen in the longest of times, and the outliers that I did see way back when evaporated in like an extremely short time. But so they don't really count. I have never really seen in Drunkduck talent attacking other talent for their work or for their approach or for their politics or for whatever. I have not seen this happen in our community. At least not as a rule. Like, I don't want to make a completely absolutist comment, but if it has happened, it is extremely rare. So, whereas in other communities, there is a lot of aggression and there is a lot of suppression and some kind of antagonism between talent. And I suspect, and this is a hypothesis, but this is happening because there is a feeling of needing to kick some birds out of the nest in order to survive, so to speak.
Oh yeah, you need to sort of to fight your way to the top. Okay, well, we have to go, unfortunately. We can't keep going because we have things to get to.
Bills to pay, things to do. People just...
This has been an interesting topic, and I hope we have some good comments on it. Okay, well, thank you very much for being part of the QUACKCAST. All right, QUACKCAST number 492. Goodbye, guys.
Bye-bye now. Thanks, y'all.